In recent years, many European countries have been restricting immigration flows. At this point, it's actually easier to list the European countries that are still good for immigration than the ones that aren't. But in today's video, I'll tell you about 3 countries that our clients leave most often, or are the most dissatisfied with. Welcome to the Wise Move YouTube channel. My name is Eugene. I'm one of the co-founders of our project, and I'm also holder of a Spanish residence permit. Third place goes to Georgia. Despite all my personal love for this country, we have to admit, a long-term move to Georgia simply doesn't make sense anymore. You will most likely never get a Georgian passport. The domestic market is weak, and it's hard to build a real life here, hard to find a job, and hard to launch any kind of successful business. As for citizenship, no matter what people write in the comments, in Georgia they are most likely simply not going to grant it to you. Very few immigrants actually come to Georgia, and the country has no established pathway to citizenship for foreigners. Normally in EU countries, you know the sequence. You get a first residence permit, then renew it, then move up to permanent residency, and eventually become eligible for citizenship. There's a clear, documented procedure with clear criteria. In Georgia, that entire chain is broken from the very start. Even getting an initial residence permit is extraordinarily difficult. In theory, you can open a sole proprietorship, show some turnover, and obtain residency on that basis. And for some people it works. However, several of my friends and acquaintances spent many months trying to get Georgian residency this exact way and got nothing. They eventually left the country. One particularly striking example, a friend of mine married a Georgian citizen. They've been living together in Tbilisi for over 15 years. They've had 3 children in Georgia, each of whom automatically received Georgian citizenship. But their mother, this woman, was never granted a Georgian passport, and it's completely unclear whether she ever will be. In any EU country, that situation would be simply unthinkable. Of course, Georgia has its advantages. It's a beautiful, delicious country. It's perfect for traveling, but not for immigration. Why did Georgia only take 3rd place in this ranking? Mostly because very few of our clients are still based there. Over the last year or two, most of the relocators who use Georgia as a temporary base have already left the country. Let's move on to number 2. Second place in my personal anti-ranking definitely goes to Serbia. I recently took another trip through the country. My wife and I visited several regions and cities, and I can say with confidence, Serbia is definitely not a place worth moving to in Europe. For many people who initially ended up in Serbia, its main advantage was, and still is, no Schengen visa requirement, and in fact no entry visa at all. Serbia remains one of the few countries in Europe that is visa-free for a wide range of travelers. That's very attractive. You can board a plane, land in Belgrade, and find yourself in Europe with the ability to stay. The second big appeal of Serbia is that you could apply for a Serbian passport after just 3 years of residency. But here's the big problem. Serbia has effectively stopped granting citizenship to applicants from several post-Soviet countries. Citizens of Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus currently cannot realistically obtain Serbian citizenship in any way. If you ask why, it's actually hard to answer. There is no legal ground in Serbian law that blocks, say, a Russian citizen from getting a Serbian passport. But in practice, it has become impossible. Every case that was submitted is stuck at the review stage. Whether anything can be done about it, and whether anything is being done, is completely unclear. This started about a year and a half ago, after the mass protest that broke out following the collapse of a railway station canopy in the city of Novi Sad. How and why that's connected to passport processing, no one can explain. Some people have ended up in a truly bizarre situation. They already renounced their original citizenship, submitted documents for a Serbian passport, got their renunciation approved, but the Serbian passport never came. They are now stateless. We've been warning people moving to Eastern European countries about this for as long as our company has existed. In most of these countries, internal and external policy is completely unpredictable and often simply irrational. There are plenty of people who, after moving, were forced to leave countries like the Czech Republic, Latvia, Estonia, or Finland. And now the problems have reached Serbia too. The current right-wing government of Vučić is politically unstable, and who knows, if someone else comes to power tomorrow, they might ask an entire category of newcomers to leave. On top of political uncertainty, Serbia has other problems. Like Georgia, the domestic market is quite weak. It's hard to find a job, hard to build and grow a business. And one more thing I've noticed. In Serbia, the expat community remains very closed off. Expats coming from post-Soviet countries tend to stick together and keep separate from locals. Very few people make local friends or build a local circle. Yes, there are exceptions, but very few people genuinely learn Serbian. And it's not clear whether these people are even planning to truly integrate. The strong impression is that most of them treat Serbia as a temporary hub, some consciously, some perhaps subconsciously. What the future of Serbia holds is completely unclear. And the number 1 spot, of course, goes to Portugal. I've already made quite a few videos about this country on our channel, and I started filming them back when things in Portugal were still basically fine. For some reason I genuinely cannot explain, Portugal, starting from early 2022, became one of the trendiest destinations for relocation. And to this day, there's a massive amount of content online where bloggers claim Portugal is literally the best country in Europe for relocation, based on a whole list of criteria. The problem is, all those criteria are either no longer accurate or long outdated. They used to say Portugal is like Spain, only much cheaper. But today Portugal is actually more expensive than Spain, which defies any logical explanation because the quality of life clearly isn't comparable to Spain's. Supposedly Portugal has low taxes. Completely false. Supposedly it's easy to get residency, but the immigration system in Portugal has been broken since COVID, when a huge number of civil servants were laid off. It still hasn't recovered. If you apply for a digital nomad residency in Portugal, be ready for the processing time to stretch up to a year and a half. And nobody is even surprised anymore. Just think about that. A year and a half just sitting in the country, waiting for a decision on your residence permit. It's absurd, when next door in Spain, you can get a residency card in your hand for yourself and your entire family in just 2 months. Portugal used to have 2 additional advantages, similar to today's Spain. First, you could enter on a tourist Schengen visa and apply for residency from inside the country. The government eliminated that option about a year and a half ago. Second, you could apply for citizenship after just 5 years of residency. That also changed. Now you have to wait 10 years, same as Spain. So at this point, there are essentially no real advantages left to moving to Portugal. And honestly, it remains a mystery to me why there are still so many people writing to us every week asking how to relocate to Portugal and how to get Portuguese residency specifically. Yes, if you want, we can help you do it. It's entirely realistic. But once our clients weigh the pros and cons between Portugal and Spain during a consultation, very few of them still end up choosing Portugal. If you're thinking about getting residency in any EU country, come to a free consultation via the link below this video. We'll help you choose the country and immigration program that fits your specific situation perfectly.